Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Incorrect Politics. Today's episode will be one of those shorter ones because we are only going to cover one topic, and that will be Caitlyn Jenner announces her run for California's governor. So, who is Jenner, and does she have a realistic shot to win the governorship of California? Well, first of all, Caitlyn Jenner is a self-described socially liberal candidate, so basically that means she's pro-abortion and pro those drug dealing usage. Well, it varies from person to person, but generally socially liberal means these ways. And she's a fiscal conservative, so she's not a big fan of big government and a fan for lowering taxes. So basically her stance is very similar to those of the New England Republican governors such as Chris Christie, Chris Sununu, and Phil Scott of Vermont. So that's probably the only way that Republican governors can win their governorship at state level for nowadays inside a very blue state. And California went to Joe Biden by 29 percentage. So she obviously has to take that stance to have any realistic shot at winning. Caitlyn Jenner herself has a specific trait, and that is she is a transgender activist. Well, maybe herself or himself. I'm not going to play identity politics here, and for the sake of this video, I'm going to refer to her as herself. So basically, Caitlyn Jenner herself is a reality TV star, and since she's a transgender activist, that really sounds very alike the so-called democratic image, because that's basically all the social liberal issues, but herself claiming as a Republican makes the entire identity of her rather confusing, I will say. And a lot of people will try to compare her to the victory of 2003 for Republican Party in California, which is the victory of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So first of all, I have to say the political environment of right now and 2003 is a whole lot different, and I basically think it's non-comparable between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Caitlyn Jenner, but they actually show some similarity. For one, Arnold Schwarzenegger, according to this Wikipedia article, he's as described by others, he's a super moderate. And Caitlyn Jenner, she's already a transgender, and she is social liberal. You can hardly argue her to be on the conservative side of the spectrum if you do not consider her fiscal policies. And there are actually some Democrats who agree with the fiscal policies of Republican Party, and that's why Republicans in the New England region can be elected. However, despite a lot of people claiming that the comment section of the mainstream media can be manipulated a lot by buying the comments or buying the likes or shares or subscribe, as what I would really want to do because my channel has been staggering right now, but there's still a very good index to see if a given candidate has a realistic shot at winning. But first of all, let's go on to Fox News and look at that particular news post that talks about Mr. Jenner. So it's right here. So actually, if you scroll down the comment section of Fox News, and if you find that all of them are supportive messages, such as when Donald Trump ran, they were all flooded by Make America Great Again or Trump 2020, then you can ensure there's at least a full partisan support under this candidate for that given party. Under Fox News case, it will be Republican Party. And if you can find that similar comments saying, for example, Biden 2020, on MSNBC or NBC's Instagram page, then that's on the opposite side, which means that this candidate at least has the partisan support of the Democratic Party. And if you want to find bipartisan support, that will be even much harder, and it will usually be targeting towards the very unliked predecessor, which would be Gray Davis in the case of 2000, and would be Gavin in 2021 cases. So if you actually scroll down this article, you'll find that this is not the case under Caitlyn Jenner. So if a trans Republican is the chosen one to turn California red, then so be it. That sounds more like a reluctant comment, and at least she's a Republican, very reluctant. And it's a no from us. What a drag. He might actually not be doing a bad job, honestly. Those are very reluctant comments. But there's one comment that I want to point it out specifically. Let's see if I can find. Alright, I found it. So this comment is the one that I want to specifically highlight. I'm going to press on the like button. So we don't need another look. I'm the first whatever to run for office. And I'm really into this message. This message echoed inside me, and I believe it echoes to a lot of you. So my standard doesn't only apply to Republicans or Democrats. When Hillary Clinton ran on 2016 for president, I do admire her courage to run as president, as for anyone who wants to run under a major political party. However, I never agree that because she's a woman, so she deserves more electability, because we need to give women their chance to shine or give women a chance at top office. I do not believe so. I believe that the position of the elected official should be solely based on whether he or she is qualified for the job. If you are a qualified candidate as a woman, then so be it, you should be elected. If you are a qualified candidate as a male, and you are equally as qualified as a male and a female, then you shouldn't be favored or disfavored simply because you are not a woman or a male. And similar case will apply to Caitlyn Jenner's case. She will probably claim herself as the first transgender candidate in California to run for governorship, but still, I don't buy that, even though I'm clearly supporting Republican Party way more than Democratic Party, but I still don't believe that Jenner should be playing this political identity card. Well, certainly there's a comment down here that said something that I believe is correct, and that is, look at this one. I kind of want Jenner to win. Ultimate for the transgender Republican. Let's see how liberal will tear Jenner up. Yes, when Jenner runs, then Democrat cannot play their identity politics saying that, oh, Republican is a party of racism, or Republican is a party that doesn't echoes to the newly formed human rights, such as the right of gay, right of lesbian, and so on. However, I believe that Democratic Party will still be able to find a lot of holes into attacking Jenner if she actually decides to run, because Jenner, she is again a reality star just much as Donald Trump, but she doesn't have any past political experience, the same as Donald Trump. But I don't believe that Jenner is going to be a much genius people in comparison with Donald Trump. Yes, she also started her own business, and so did Donald J. Trump, but some of the personality trait can be seen from what they do in the past, and Jenner doesn't just seem to echo with the sense of having that don't need to be elected before and can already prove herself to be a successful candidate. And beyond this point, the reality is California is just not a place where Republican can cruise by to victory, or even rather say, even after a hard-fought, Republican is still a heavy underdog in California. If we want to see that, let's probably refer to the California recall polls. So when I actually look on Google, where I search for California recall poll RCP average, I first came into this particular page, and it looked quite interesting because it's the first result, right? So I click into it, and it appeared this very vintage page. So actually this is a recall election page from 2003, because you have this recall Davis. So back in that time, where we all know that Arnold Schwarzenegger ultimately won the election, the recall election, by 48 percentage point, which is a plurality but by no means a majority. And that time Davis recall opinion yes, 55.5% on RCP average, and 42% on recalling no. So actually the recalling poll at that time is favoring the Republicans' opinion, which is to recall Davis. And as I previously discussed, there's a systematic bias towards Republicans in these types of polling from the start to the end. So when this poll is showing that Republican Party are actually benefiting from the poll, then that means it's probably that case. So if we turn to the nowadays numbers, which let me show you, in 2020 California governor recall election, it says that 38% of the people support a remove and 49% do not support a remove. Even if we look at the closest poll, which is the Emerson poll, it says that 38% of the people support to remove Gavin Newsom from office and 42% do not support to remove Gavin Newsom from poll. Then that's still the case. At this worst case scenario, Gavin is still going to prevail by around 4 to 5 points. And look at the numbers here. It's 38% support and 42% not support. That means there is a 20% undecided poll down here. And by the time we all know that California is a Democratic leaning state and it has a lot of independents in it, right? Independents even surpassed Republican registration last year, although it was quickly reverted. But independents in California are typically leaning towards the Democratic Party. So we can see that the only case where Jenner could possibly become a governor of California is that first, Gavin Newsom has to be recalled, and then there will be a substitution replacement election. But right now, it doesn't even seem like Caitlyn Jenner will get a chance to advance into the runoff, because Gavin Newsom doesn't even seem like it's going to be recalled or removed from office. And that's just a crucial fact for Caitlyn Jenner and the Republican Party right here. There's only 3 attempts of recalls back in the American history. Actually, I can name that for you. The first recall will be under North Dakota, which is, I believe, 100 years ago. That was a successful attempt, if I may remember. And then 2003, which is the 2003, which is the Great Davis record against Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was a successful attempt. And the third one was Wisconsin's recall, which was against Scott Walker, and Scott Walker actually survived that recall by around 2 to 3 percentage point. So recall itself is a very rare situation, and even when recall it does materialize, it doesn't mean that it's going to pass. And this case of California's recall, based on common sense, even by Republican favoring standard, I'm not going to say that Caitlyn Jenner has a realistic chance to win the recall. But there is actually a very interesting thing inside the so-called recall polling. If we click into the Emerson one, which is the one that's saying that Governor Newsom's most dangerous, because that's the 38 against 42% votes. So first of all, we can see that right here, it says voters were split on how they thought the recall election would affect California, with 44% saying it was overall a bad thing and 43% saying it's a good thing, while 30% were undecided. First of all, that's actually an interesting thing. Remember that, because we're going to move on for now. It says a strong majority, 72%, said it was a good example of the democratic process, while 28% said it was a threat to democracy. That's actually a very interesting stuff. It shows that although people may not be voting against Gavin Newsom, but at least at this point of stage, they're actually supporting the entire recall election itself. A lot of the Democratic Party people and Gavin Newsom himself is trying to tie the entire recall effort to the Republican Party. And usually when you try to tie things in Republican Party in the state of California as a partisan effort, that's going to stir some infuriation for the Democratic electorate inside California. Even though after this attempt to try to tie the effort to Republican Party by Gavin Newsom, there is still a 72% majority saying that it's a good example of the democratic process. So, I believe that this means that the things may change. Although I currently believe that Gavin Newsom is above water, he's likely to survive if the vote is going to be conducted tomorrow. But people will not completely demonize the entire recall attempt. So there's still a chance that if Gavin Newsom somehow fumbled, or maybe the COVID-19 case soared again, then the state of California is going to reject Gavin Newsom once again. And if you dive deeper into this article, you'll find that there's more evidence showing that the voters, they were not so-called happy about Gavin Newsom. They're just reluctant to vote against the current office holders, because right now it says that he will have his work cut out for him in 2022. 58% of the voters believe that it's time for someone new, while only 42% said they will re-elect Governor Newsom. So, despite Newsom being somewhat approved in terms of his polling numbers, it doesn't mean that the people were very liking Gavin Newsom to remain as the governorship. So that's actually again something to show that Democratic Party doesn't have the so-called absolute grasp in this governorship of California. So all in all, I do not believe that Caitlyn Jenner is going to succeed Gavin Newsom as the new California governor. But on a side note, I do find that Caitlyn Jenner looks a little bit like the portrait of the TV series you can find on Netflix. It's called The Politician. So she's especially like this Georgina Hobart, which is the character inside The Politician. And in that show, coincidentally, Georgina Hobart ran for the governor of California as an independent against Democratic nominee and against, I'm not sure actually, it wasn't portrayed so clearly inside that series, but Georgina Hobart won around 90% of the precincts under that show, and that's actually an interesting thought. Maybe when Caitlyn Jenner decided to run, she has this Georgina Hobart's image inside her mind, or not? I'm not sure, it's just for a fun fact I'm trying to portray to you guys. Anyways, that will be all of my video today. If you do like it, you can like, share, and subscribe. You can comment down below for your thoughts. And as always, have a great day. I'm signing out. Goodbye.